For 31 years, the Queen Mary served as a majestic city of the sea. Now she's dropped anchor for the final time, closing out a career unequaled in the history of commercial sea voyaging, a career that took her through a depression, a world war, a period of unequaled glory, and a last great voyage.
What eventually happened was a ship 1,019 feet and 6 inches long, weighing more than 81,000 tons, 12 decks deep, 118 feet wide.
Who named the ship the Queen Mary.
She got one. The RMS Queen Mary, launched in Clydebank, Scotland in September of 1934. It was the 1st of June, 1936, and I remember it well, standing at the battery, describing for a radio audience America's first look at the world's biggest ship, given a hero's welcome in New York, dispatched here from England with these words from King George V. A vehicle for the forerunners of the jet set. The times when we reporters would meet her at the pier, wondering what she would offer this trip, and never knowing quite what to expect.
What do you think of
The Mary was refitted so that she could carry up to 15,000 soldiers at one time. She made runs to Australia, the Middle East, South America, and finally back and forth between Europe and the United States, without escort except near land. Painted a ghost gray for camouflage, depending on her great speed to outrun the Nazi submarines, in 5 years of service, she was never attacked.
Actually, she's where things have gone a lot better than I expected. As you know, she was designed for the North Atlantic, which is a cool weather run, for a 7-day run, a 5-day run actually, a weekly service. And this is a 39-day run, twice through the tropics in some of the hottest ports you can go to. And actually it hasn't been nearly as hot as I thought it might have been. The last couple of days have been very hot and humid and around Rio. But other than that, things have gone extremely well.
Captain, do you feel that with the retiring of the Queen Mary, this will be the passing of an era?
Well, I certainly think so. I personally think that the day of the very large passenger liner is finished. We have this new one of ours, Queen Elizabeth II, coming on. She'll be here on service in 1969. And I think she and the France will be running in conjunction with each other. And I think as long as they do that, that they might be able to pay their way. And I think there's these two ships, the Queen Elizabeth II and the France, will be the last of these very big passenger ships.
The Queen Mary has been described by many in such glowing terms as the majestic lady, the sea home for the wealthy and the famous, and the floating castle. And on this last voyage, there have even been a few critical descriptions. However, the Queen has always been a happy, luxurious ship. And although the image is tarnished and faded, it remains on this last voyage.
my last night that I shall be addressing my passengers at any time. So it is a historic night and a rather sad night for me, but I'm also very proud indeed and privileged to be the captain of this ship on this last historic cruise.
The final hours of the last great voyage were the most memorable, as young and old alike celebrated at dances and parties prior to a gala welcome at the Queen Mary's new home, Long Beach. Part of the service and love of ship for which the vessels become so very famous. For many of the 1,200 passengers and 800 crew members aboard for this last great voyage, there's the realization they're witnessing the passing of an era.
Well, I took the first cruise and I had a natural nostalgic feeling, and I didn't want to miss the last cruise.
Mr. Fitzpatrick, how would you compare the Queen in '36 with the Queen Mary today?
Well, the poor old girl has had a hard time, I'd say, by comparison with other ships that have been launched recently. She was never designed to do this kind of a cruise, and I think she's done it admirably. I am very pleased with the whole trip. Has been, as far as I'm concerned, most satisfactory. And I have been roaming the world for almost 40 years. The old Queen Mary is doing herself proud, and she's coming into Long Beach with flying colors.
I shall be very sad when we leave it altogether. Because after all, it's been our home for 13 years, because we don't live in Southampton where the ship is berthed. I live 240 miles from Southampton. So the ship has to be my home in Southampton, and New York, of course.
We all knew we were on the greatest and biggest and fastest ship in the world.
That impressed you then?
Oh, obviously, yes. When we came down to Brooklyn, we didn't know what we were going on, whether it be a trooper or a freighter or what, and we looked up and there was the Queen Mary and there was the Queen Elizabeth, and we turned to the right and went aboard the Queen Mary, and we were happy to be aboard the Mary. It's been wonderful being aboard her. I found a lot of things I never saw aboard her before. Lots of lounges and bars that were full of GIs before that are now lounges and bars again. Without ice, but lounges and bars.
This has got to be one of the saddest things, I think, to ever happen, because this has got to be one of the most beautiful ships that was anyone's ever built. And I believe that the crew's unhappy about it, and the passengers are very sad about it. And there are a lot of passengers that complained about all of the problems that they had with the heat and so on. And but I think that they're all going to miss it.
Oh, a feeling of nostalgia, a great feeling of nostalgia, to walk down the gangway for the last time, never to go up there again.
Have you given a lot of thought to this?
A great deal of thought. But of course we've been a little bit complacent about it because the days have gone by, but this is the last day.
You know, you get some very unhappy ships and you get very happy ships, and they all have a personality of their own. I think they're like women. I think they're referred to as female gender because of this, that they vary so much, you know.
How would you describe the Queen Mary?
Well, I would describe this Queen Mary as the most elegant and the finest ship that has ever sailed any of the oceans. And she's been a most happy ship, and I certainly have been very happy and proud to have been here in command for the last 2 years.
It was immaculate, beautifully kept. I came aboard the last time that one could come on the ship before sailing with two friends who had taken trips with me, English friends. And the only thing that stood out was how different the Mary looked when we remembered it and when we came aboard.
What does the Mary mean to you?
Well, it means what Cunard means. It means a chance to travel the way I love. I don't fly easily. I have flown, but I don't like it. And when I took the Mary, I knew I would have superlative service. This sounds odd, but I mean, it doesn't matter what class they were, but the people were charming usually. And it gave you an opportunity within a few days of getting abroad to the atmosphere I love in the most comfortable, perfect way.
Do you suppose that an era is passing now?
It's past. It's surely past for me.
We feel that the Queen Mary will be sort of the crown jewel in what we hope will be the foremost water recreation development in the entire United States. We hold these lands in trust for the state of California, and we feel that it's up to us to develop them in the best way possible. The state will get from the development in Long Beach approximately $1 billion to $1.25 billion of dollars, and that the city of Long Beach over the next 30 to 35 years will receive about $240 to $250 million. As you know, many cities do not want to develop oil fields because they feel that they hamper the beauty of the coastline. I think we here in Long Beach are proving that oil and water does mix. One of the requirements of our ordinance was that the islands must be completely landscaped. And if you see those 4 drilling rigs there, they look like large skyscraping hotels. And it's interesting to note that we've had over 150 inquiries of my office how people could rent on these islands.
We will have 3 different uses on the interior of the ship. Our basic use of it, our basic reason in acquiring the ship was to develop a museum of the sea aboard, and for that purpose we will clear out the lower decks and create an area about the size of a football field, including the end zones. And in that area we will develop, with the assistance of the California Museum Foundation, our Museum of the Sea. Our studies made so far indicate that we can have something like 428-room hotel. The restaurants aboard and the main lounges and things like that are very adaptable to convention activities. So we'll actually have a 3-function use of the Queen Mary, and it'll be kind of a jewel on our shoreline. We've actually had tourist-oriented people make estimates for us, and I think their predictions are as high as 2.5 million people a year will be coming down to visit and board the Queen Mary for its various activities.
When the Queen Mary was launched some 31 years ago, a leading European astrologist predicted that she would attain her greatest fame and popularity when she never sailed another mile nor carried another passenger. Her future here in Long Beach looks bright. Thus, the prediction could well come true. Mike Boyd, KCRA News, reporting on the last great voyage from Long Beach.